boys to the Honolulu Blue, to the Silver Stripes and the soul of the Blue Crew. From the ashes of 0 and 16 we rose with the chip on our shoulder that everyone knows. I stand with the faithful, the loud and the loyal, on Michigan soil where the battle lines coil. I pledge allegiance to the shield and the Maine, through the lake effect snow and the November rain. One nation under God, moving the chains with the fire of the city coursing through our veins. Hey, invisible spirit, upon them will crack. We got the whole league's targets on our back. Watch the war room flicker, watch the vision take hold, turning late round flyers into Detroit gold. He's the master of the board, the dealer of the deck, putting every expert opinion in check. Put every expert opinion in check. He doesn't follow trends, he creates the hook. Quiet in the room, let Brad cook. To the trenches we swear, where the dirty work's done, where the game isn't played, it's physically won. I promise to roar till my vocal cords fray, to believe in the homes and the Brad chosen way. We don't want the flash, we don't want the glitz, just the hunters who thrive in the heart of the grit. Liberty from the cellar, and justice for the years of pain. No more same old lions, just the kings of the northern reign. I pledge my allegiance, my heart and my roar, to the team that we love and the team we adore. With kneecaps for breakfast and victory in sight, we're the Detroit Lions and we're winning tonight.
All right, good morning, everybody. Be right in here just as soon as I can. I just got to get my camera to fire up. Big delay this morning. Got a lot going on, but we're gonna break it down. We're gonna have a few shows today. Obviously, we have the pregame huddle today. We'll have a live stream tonight. Eric will be in for the live stream with us tonight. And yeah, man. Hey, it's game day, y'all. Lions' first preseason game. Wish I was actually going. Should have. Tickets were stupid cheap, but you know how it goes, man. I actually had more important things to do yesterday, and I'm so happy with the news that I got yesterday, which I can't wait. I can't wait to discuss it with y'all here in just a minute. All right, looks like the camera's in. Let's get rolling, y'all.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again. Well, this guy's been everywhere tonight.
15 intros this morning.
Campbell, bam, meets him right there, runs his feet. Doesn't get any better than that.
And it's Jack Campbell who wraps him up.
That is textbook linebacker play.
What the I'm talking about?
Who the I'm talking about? That's right, Calvin Shepard, man. I'm so excited. I'm so pumped for today, man. Even though it's just preseason, and we're not going to see a whole lot of starters today. We'll see some second action. I keep getting someone asking for this Discord group chat link. It's coming. Actually, I just got to get with my son on that. I don't know anything about Discord. I don't even know how to use it. So if he wants to do it, he can do it. But I gotta figure out how I can add it. We'll try to get it added here soon, before the season starts anyway. So preseason day 1. We're back. Right? We're back. We can start to forget. Well, I guess what we've already forgotten. Not a lot of us have forgotten what happened last year. And this year, we're hoping to erase all that and move forward. And we're not starting off on a great foot, but I put together a few things today. It's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride today, but that's okay. I do want to talk about the depth chart and the huge meaning to the Lions defense and this major change that just happened. Mr. Predicto is going to tell us what's happening today. We're going to do our Mr. Predicto segment at some point. So make sure you send in some questions when we get to that point. I am not on low latency today, so there will be about a 22 second delay. Nothing I can do about it today. 7-on-7. So, players that I want to watch, I try to do things a little bit different. And every year that I do something different, someone always tries to steal it from me. So I did something totally different. It's going to be called the Detroit Lions 7-on-7. 7 offensive players to watch, 7 defensive players to watch. And look, there's a lot more than that, to be honest with you. There's a lot more players on the back end of this depth chart that I want to see and that I want to see play well. There's going to be a lot of players that play tonight that won't be on the roster, and that's okay. I hope they stick around. A lot of them stick around on the practice squad. Big news around the NFC North. I think it's going to be finally announced today. Your Chicago Bears, F the Bears, are moving out. They're getting sent down south to Indiana. According to, I think it was the governor of Indiana or somebody said that no name change will happen. They will stay the Chicago Bears. Again, I don't know if it's been made official yet, but it's supposed to be made official at some point today that they're moving down south, which means they're probably going to break ground, I would assume, next year on a stadium if everything goes well. And they'll probably have a new stadium within the next 3 to 5 years, I would assume. I don't know. I don't even know how long it took them to build a Bill stadium. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. It's actually going to happen. Chicago can't figure out a way to keep their own football team in Chicago. I've had a couple of messages about getting Madden codes. Look, it's a giveaway. I'm not giving out codes to people. You have to play, man. You got to play to win. I did not announce on the 9th because I didn't have enough from all the sources to trigger it. And we had enough yesterday. So tonight during the preseason game, the winner will be announced for week 1. Video games, I think it's not even released until today. I think today Madden comes out. But I'm sending all the games at the end of the month all at once. Once I have all the winners, and once they've all communicated back, they're all going to go out at one time. And then we'll put that up on the post. We'll put it up on the Twitter. We'll make sure that there's enough areas for people to see who won. And if you know them, let them know so that they can claim. Because I only give them 30 days. After 30 days, I'm done. I'm not going to chase. I don't have time to chase. So big news today on the defense. I actually got to grab something real quick that I totally forgot to grab. So I'm going to be right back. Give me just a few minutes. Let's see if I can beat this ad. Be right back.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from uperlights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit uperlights.com for all your UV flashlight needs with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from uperlights.com.
Damn, almost made it. Almost made it.
Well, this guy's been everywhere tonight.
What a play by Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell.
Bam! Meets him right there, runs his feet. Doesn't get any better than that.
And it's Jack Campbell who wraps him up.
That is textbook linebacker play.
What the I'm talking about?
All right. I'm going to try to settle in here. I'm on like zero sleep. It's not a great night of sleep for me, even though I had great news yesterday. So I went in for my checkup with oncology, and I've had the best blood work yet. So I go in at least every 12 weeks. Used to be every month. Now I'm down to every 12 weeks. And now that I'm down over 20 pounds, my blood is responding, which maybe it's the blood, maybe it's the change diet, maybe it's all the above, but things are looking a lot better. Now, obviously, I haven't had cancer since 2023. And then we had another area of concern in the hips and the bones. They're still watching it, but I think I'm okay. I got to get my hips replaced anyway, so once they do that, it's not going to matter. They're going to take it all out anyway. They were just hoping that it wouldn't deteriorate. So anyway, great news yesterday. Blood is doing great. I even posted it on my YouTube posts, for those people out there that think you can fake cancer. Pretty tough to fake doctor's paperwork. Pretty tough. So you can stick that in your pipe and smoke it. I'm feeling much better. I mean, I'll be looking better, but I'm feeling better. So let's break into today, man. What happened with the defense? Did y'all even notice? I'm going to pose the question. Did you guys notice the depth chart? Let's see who's paying attention, because I honestly, let me scan the old interwebs real quick. Detroit Lions news. We'll go defense. Did anyone pick up on it? I don't think they did. I don't think they did. Let's go Detroit Lions depth chart. Pride of Detroit just put one out. But anyway, I wrote an article last night. I'm going to talk to you about it this morning. I wrote a couple, actually. The one I did about Drew Petzing. We're going to talk about that, too. Really, that was more for the Minnesota weeks. So I'm way ahead on that, but it's still very credible. So I'm just scanning, and I don't think anybody picked up on it. So did anyone else pick up on it in the chat? How would you guys miss this? Where's Mike P? He should have saw it. All right, well, here's the big news. Let me just throw it up on the screen. Let me just show you what happened. I can't even tell you the last time that I've seen this. And since 2021, could be wrong, but let me adjust it real quick. Major difference this year. Let's see if it'll work. I'm most positive that it's going to work. I am most positive because I've been asking for it for years. That's what my article says. And all the games that I called, hey, we got to run more nickel. We got to run more spy. There's a couple. 24, week 18, Minnesota. I called the exact defense to run. Put Amik Robertson, take your worst corner, put it on the best receiver, technically, and then bracket them. And they did that. JJ didn't have a game. Lions took out the Vikings week 18, right? The rest is history from there. You all know the history. So that was a huge call. Ravens game. Had to run the spy. Had to run more nickel. It's exactly what they did. Now, I know that Justin Rogers got the old attaboy from Shep about the nickel, about the spy. But I've been calling for spy for years. And it's in just about every single pregame breakdown that I do. I would go and look at what team's defenses against our current opponent would be able, to have a good game. And then I would look at, kind of their splits. How many, snaps did they run in nickel? How many did they run in their base? What is their base? And I would kind of dial it in and figure out, what would be the best situation for the Lions, given the roster and what we normally run, to beat that team. And that's how I started at the very, very beginning. Now it's kind of changed a little bit. It's tailored now because we've got more statistics and analytics and metrics and all the KPIs and all these things that I'm working with now. But I'm still waiting for one person to put it in the chat. Not one person. 425. Do you guys not see it? It's a 425 base. Aiden Hutchinson, Ali McNeil, Tyleek Williams, DJ Wanham. 2 linebackers. Derek Barnes, Jack Campbell. 2 linebackers. Starting nickel, Roger McCreary, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Rock Yassin, DJ Reed. Y'all, we have officially switched to a 4-2-5 base, at least for now. At least for now. Never before have I seen a 4-2-5 on their initial depth chart. And again, I could be wrong, but in recent memory, I have never seen a 4-2-5 listed as a depth chart. It's always been a 4-3. Could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I've never noticed it, and with so much attention. I mean, I told y'all we were going to nickel this year a long time ago. And now it's coming. And so this changes the dynamic of everything for the 53-man roster. It changes everything. Because now you don't need 6 linebackers. You don't. You might only need 5. You could probably get away with 4, but that would be a little dangerous. I think you'd want to keep at least 5. So it makes a lot more sense now as to why Jimmy Rolder was taking more snaps at the mic and learning more of the inside linebacker role in a 4-2-5. So I'm excited. So this changes everything for the edge position. It changes everything for the defensive line group. It changes how many corners we're going to keep. You now are DBs. You're now going to need 10, I would say, at a minimum, unless you have plenty of guys that are, what I call cross-pollinators. They can work in, they're more versatile, they're more multiple, and they can run, multiple different positions, which we have, right? We do have that. We have plenty of that. So now my 53 is changing. But this is the first time, like I said, that I've seen in a long time that the Lions are switching to a 4-2-5. Doesn't mean that we're not going to run 4-3. Doesn't mean that we're not going to have 5-man fronts, because we will. Matter of fact, I think we're going to see a lot more 5-man. I think we're going to see some 3-man. I think we're going to see 4 linebackers. I think we're going to see 4 defensive ends. We've already seen 4 defensive ends at one point already in camp. So huge change, man. That is the huge change to the defense. And again, unofficial depth chart really doesn't mean anything, but these would be your starters today. Aiden Hutchinson, Ali McNeil, Tyleek Williams, DJ Wanham. So that's another thing. Now, you remember about 2 weeks ago, or maybe a week and a half ago, I said maybe I was wrong about DJ Wanham. Maybe they were going to put him behind Aiden to be the other speed end, and then they were going to roll with, the bigger end on the other side, which was beginning to be Tyler Lacey's job, and Ahmed Hassanin behind him, which Ahmed Hassanin's in third space right now. But DJ Wanham's, he's on the starting front. So that means the Lions have their speed front with Aiden Hutchinson and DJ Wanham, and then they have their big front right behind them. Remember, hockey line shifts, y'all. You have Derek Moore and then Tyler Lacey. And then you have a mixture of both when you go to Anthony Lucas and Ahmed Hassanin. So this is, Peyton Turner hasn't practiced, so he's last on the list right now. Let me scroll over. Eric O'Neill, he's last on the list in the edge room. And then on defensive line, there's been a lot of shade thrown at Levi Onwuzurike, but I think this clearly shows us who's going to get some work tonight. And I'm surprised to see Chris Smith that far up on the depth chart. Again, it's unofficial. But, man, we have a very good problem happening in Detroit right now. We have a lot of depth. We have some really good football players. I understand we have, quite a few injuries right now, and, ticky-tack stuff. But it'll smooth out, man. This plane's going to land at some point. I think it's going to be this year. Mike P., what's your question, buddy? This is great news, but I totally missed it. That was found where? This is on the Lions website. This is what they put out. This is the Lions website. They put it out last night. All right, raise your hand in the chat if y'all read my article from last night on Drew Petzing. And I released it pretty late. I was up working until about 1, and I got up at 5:30. So I'm not doing so hot on sleep today, but it's okay. And I was already responding to people's emails this morning. A lot of emails flying in. Make sure you guys hit up mailbag at rockdown.com. Most importantly, for 2 reasons. Next week, I'm going to start the mailbag for sure. So get your questions in every week. It's preferably the day before game day, because I want to use those the day before game day so we can talk about what you're interested in on game day or the day before game day. So mailbag at rockdown.com. Fill it up with your questions, your statements, your ideas, content ideas, and then you can also call the show 313 podcast when I'm throwing it up that we're live to take calls. But you can always leave a voicemail, and you can always send a text. I don't share your number. I don't sell your information or anything stupid like that. It all stays in-house. And I'm not going to be calling you at 2 o'clock in the morning drunk from a bar because, well, I don't drink. So that would never happen. Anyway, fill it up. Fill up the cup. Let's start getting active for this year's season. Let's go to the rest of the defense here. So we'll just go front to back. Aiden Hutchinson, Derek Moore, Anthony Lucas, Eric O'Neill. Those are going to be your starting one side of the defensive end. Other side, you have DJ Wanham, Tyler Lacey, Ahmed Hassanin, Peyton Turner. So if the camp ended today, I would say that the Lions are probably going to keep 6 edge or maybe 5 and 5, maybe 5 edge and 5 defensive linemen, because we have some highly versatile guys. Defensive line, you have Ali McNeil, Levi Onwuzurike, Mekhi Wingo, Skylar Gill-Howard. Let me move that over a little bit. And then behind Tyleek, you got Tyleek, Chris Smith, Miles Adams, Tyree West. Linebacker spot, number 1, the Sam, Derek Barnes, Malcolm Rodriguez, Damone Clark, Troy Reeder, Eric Hunter. So Eric Hunter would be the 5th guy. Linebacker spot number 2, you have Jack Campbell, Devin White, Trevor Nowaski, Jimmy Rolder, Joe Bacci, Amen Agabaniga. I butchered his name. Sorry, Amino. Cornerback, DJ Reed, Nick Whiteside, Khalil Dorsey, Ryan Cooper Jr. Cornerback 2, Rock Ya-Sin, Ennis Rakestraw, Keith Abney II. Safety 1, Kirby Joseph, Chuck Clark, Thomas Harper, Dan Jackson. Safety 2, Brian Branch, Avonte Maddox, Lauren Strickland. Nickelback. I don't know how Roger McCreary is getting the start over Christian Izzian right now. Like, that has not been the take in camp thus far, but clearly the Lions defensive staff are seeing something different than what's being reported, and I haven't been at every practice. So I'm only going based on things that I hear and then things that, the rest of the beat reporters and that are putting out. I tend to go with a lot more with what I hear. On offense, at the very tippy top here, you got Jamison Williams, Dominic Lovett coming in at number 2. Behind J-Mo, Malik Cunningham, Tariq Black. Wide receiver spot number 2, which this is kind of weird. Where's the 3rd wide receiver? All right, it's down there a little bit. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Greg Dortch, Tom Kennedy, and then Lucky Jackson. Every time I say the word Lucky, I think of 2 things. I think of Lucky Strikes, and I think of Lucky Brand. Every time I say that word. I don't know why. It just pops into my head every time. Wide receiver 3, down towards the bottom of the list, Isaac Tesla, Cedric Wilson, Tay Martin. So again, if camp were to end today, I think it's obviously J-Mo, Amin-Ra, Isaac Tesla, Greg Dortch for sure. And Dominic Lovett and Cedric Wilson are battling for spot number 5. Do the Lions keep 6? Can they even figure out a way to keep 6? Jackson Meeks couldn't have made a better move this year moving to tight end. Like he made a very good business decision. So Dominic Lovett, let me just briefly, I'll just say this. This guy was drafted last year, what? 7th, 6th round? I don't remember. Seventh round, 244 overall. He appeared in, 9 games? I think last season? 12 games, 12 games. Appeared in 12 games. So here we go. We have a 7th round draft pick that is now about to make the active roster, the starting roster's top 53 this year. That is a huge development for him. I really liked him last year. I had him making it last year. It was either him or Meeks, and I think I switched to Meeks at the very end. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look at Rocks Locks, but I got to finish last year's Rocks Locks too. I got to finish up the stats, and then we're going to get it rolling week 1. We'll get Rocks Locks. Well, we'll get it rolling before that because I got to do the 53. Maybe I'll get one out next week. Maybe we'll get an early one out. Greg Dortch obviously is there. Let's go to left tackle. So you have Penei Sewell, Devin Cochran, Giovanni Manu. Left guard, you got Juice Scruggs, Christian Mahogany, Miles Frazier, Melvin Priestley. Center, you've got Cade Mays, Michael Neese, Seth McLaughlin. That one's interesting to me. Michael Neese is getting the bump over Seth McLaughlin right now. And I haven't heard anything about Michael Neese really throughout camp. So that's interesting. Right guard, you have Tate Radledge, Ben Barch, Mason Miller. Right tackle, you have Larry Borum over top of Blake Miller and Kobe Sorsdahl. So that means tonight Larry Borum's probably going to get the start, and Blake Miller's going to come in. Maybe they're doing that because they don't want Blake Miller to go in and face the number 1 defense right away. I'm really surprised that if they're going to put Blake Miller out there a long time. Then again, I think they feel comfortable with their backups. I just would hate to see somebody get injured tonight. Tight end, you got Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, Tyler Conklin, and then Jackson Meeks. At number 4, Thomas Gordon, Zach Horton, 5'6". Wide receiver, Isaac Tesla, Cedric Wilson, Tay Martin. And then quarterbacks, Jared Goff, Luke Altmaier, Josh Dobbs. Running back room, I think, is exactly where I had it. Gibbs, Pacheco, Vaki, Sailors. And then Small, Robichaud, and Blackshear finish out 5, 6, 7. It's a damn good roster, y'all. It's a damn good roster. Again, I understand the injuries, but this is what's going to kick us off for tonight. And I think we're in a great spot. I think we're in a really great spot. All right, who do I want to see tonight and why? Oh my God, my allergies are killing me. Who do you guys want to see tonight? Oh, we got some hands up in the chat. So we've got Edge, he read it. Sunburst read it. Nobody else read the article from last night? All right, if you guys wouldn't mind subscribing to DetroitFootballJournal.com. It's free. No matter what, it's free. I do put free content out, and then I have paywalled content. But you will get at least 1 article a week now for free, no matter what. But if you sign up, you also get a free 30-day trial. And today, I'm handing out 1-year subscriptions to 2 people. So hurry up and subscribe today because it's going to be random. Tonight, we're going to announce our first winner of the Madden 27 competition. Just make sure, man, you're commenting. You got to use Madden 27 in your comment if you want to get entered. It is a trigger that is this AI scraper. It's a trigger for it, so it'll key in on it. Your likes, your comments, your subscriptions, your memberships, your follows on Twitter, follows or subscriptions on Facebook, all of it. And you've got multiple different ways to do it. It's all free. You don't have to pay. But if you do become a member, obviously that kind of gives you an extra opportunity. You can get up to 3-to-1 ratio on your odds. But again, God damn, I got to go get some allergy meds. It's all for fun, man. Just try to do something different this year. I've never handed out Madden games, so I haven't even played Madden in forever. Hey, Robbie, it dropped today, right? Didn't it drop today? You should know, right? You play Madden. Oh. All right, I got to take a brief break. I got to go get my allergy meds real quick. I'll be right back. 2 seconds here. The season is here, and you want the latest news and rumors on your Detroit Lions. Head to sportspider.com. That's sports, SPYDER.com, where you can get your Lions news and all your sports in one place. Man, this site is packed with your favorite podcasts, live news, articles from local writers, and insiders, all updating in real time. Not just the Lions, every major sports team, including MMA, UFC, and so much more. Don't want to waste time searching? Sign up for free. Create your ultimate sports news hub. You control what hits your feed at SportsSpider, your number one source for all your sports. Visit SportSpider.com today, right after the show. I don't know where I would be without this stuff, man. This nasal spray stuff. You know, that's the one thing I haven't noticed from Dan this year. Remember how Dan always used to fidget like I do with my face? It's because of my allergies. And I assume he has allergies because he was always doing it. But I haven't noticed it a whole lot out of Dan. Like, he was always just fidgeting constantly. And so I'm wondering if he finally got it under control, which is good for him, man. That or he's just got too much caffeine running through his system. Or too much or nicotine. I think he still chews. All right, 7-on-7. Who do I want to see and why? And Madden dropped a week ago for people that pre-ordered. Yeah, I didn't pre-order. Yeah, John, I use Claritin too. I actually take a pill and I use this fluticasone, whatever the hell this stuff is. When my allergies are bad, I got to take both. And steroids. I'm trying to stay away from steroids. I just had 6 injections, and it's a lot. Makes you gain weight. Trying to lose weight. Trying to keep it off. Actually, you know what? Before I get into who I want to watch, I want to do pet scene real quick. And I got to thinking last night. As soon as they announced that Murray was the starting quarterback in Minnesota, all sorts of bells and alarms are going off in my head. I'm like, damn, did we just get kind of lucky? Now, look, just because he was a former coach is not going to answer every detail. I understand that. But having the former offensive coordinator for 3 seasons to Kyler Murray, including last year, now in Detroit, how do you think that is going to help Calvin Shepard and this new defense that they're running? Now, the Lions have been doing a lot better against mobile quarterbacks, dual threat quarterbacks, and Kyler can definitely create with his feet. So this is definitely something that I keyed in on right away, that I believe that this relationship between offense and defense is going to be a lot different when you have a guy like Drew Petzing in the room as a former coach. So let me throw this up on the screen. We'll just go through it real quick. So you get your free article today. How about that? How about that? Meet me outside. How about that? Anybody going to the game tonight? Oh, I guess it's already up on the screen. There we go. That was good. That was quick. All right, so Drew Petzing, name of the article. Lions. The Lions gained more than an OC. Drew Petzing is Calvin Shepard's secret weapon. Drew Petzing spent 3 seasons molding Kyler Murray. Now that knowledge could give Calvin Shepard and the Lions defense a valuable edge against the Vikings 2026. You like my graphic there? I got Petzing radioing over to Shepard. Hey man, this is what he's gonna do. Detroit Lions, Drew Petzing was hired to run the offense, but his previous coaching experience could become a secret weapon against Minnesota this season. Petzing spent 3 years coaching Kyler Murray, Minnesota's new QB1 for 2026. That gives defensive coordinator Calvin Shepard a significant advantage with direct access to the coach who designed Arizona's offense around Murray. Murray made 30 starts under Petzing from 2023 through 2025. Petzing worked through protections, quarterback movement, play action concepts, pressure answers, and Murray's progressions within the defense. Petzing learned which concepts played to Murray's strengths, which defensive looks created problems, and how Murray responded when the structure of the play broke down. This may not give Detroit Minnesota's playbook, but it does provide Shepard with context, something film study alone can't fully provide. Firsthand insight into how Murray processes, reacts, and adjusts within an offense. When Petzing arrived in Arizona in 2023, he didn't just study. I found this really interesting when I was doing the research, by the way, that he didn't just study his NFL film. He went all the way back to his Oklahoma days to better understand how Murray was used as a runner. That just, again, that tells you how intelligent Petzing is and the thoughtfulness that goes into that he wants to learn everything about you. So anyway, after Murray returned from ACL rehab late that season, Arizona spent the following offseason, examining his strengths, weaknesses, and scheme fit before expanding the offense to fit around him. Petzing was actively studying him to make him better. He learned what Murray wanted against pressure, where he preferred to escape when protection failed, and which defensive structures forced him into bad decisions. Where the magic happens is during Vikings week. Shepard can identify a tendency on film and take the diagnosis a step further with Petzing. Questions like, what decision dictated, what was the decision dictated by the offensive design? Was it Murray's preferred answer? Did the defense force him away from what he wanted? Was another option available that Murray passed over? So depending on what happens on the play, if you were successful or not successful on that play, these are questions that any coordinator would ask the other to try to boil down, how to best manage the situation against this quarterback. Make this a little bigger. So this is where Petzing's intelligence becomes so valuable. He can help identify what portions of the scheme belong to O'Connell and what belongs to Murray. Oh, I got a typo in there. Let me fix that real quick. Anyway, what belongs to Murray from what I'm sorry, I said it twice. What belongs to Murray himself. Oops. Man, I didn't proofread nothing last night. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, 12:30 or something. Late eyes. I don't know why I got this all bolded too. All right, let's keep rolling. So Detroit already has a blueprint. The Lions have a recent defensive performance against Murray and Petzing to study. On September 22, 2024, Aaron Glenn's defense held Arizona to 13 points and Murray to 207 passing yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. The Cardinals converted just one of... Oh, that's why I did that. I'm moving stuff around. Converted just 1 of 9 third downs. Detroit did not solve Murray by assigning a permanent spy or recklessly blitzing him. Glenn actually varied the presentation. He mixed in 4-man rushes, selective pressure, changed the fronts, and situational 6-man pressures while maintaining the rush lane integrity, which that is so incredibly important, those last 3 words, or last 4 words, maintaining the rush lane integrity. That game became even more valuable now because Petzing was on the opposite sideline calling Arizona's offense. The question for Petzing becomes, why was Glenn's defensive plan so effective against Murray that day? Shepard can study what Glenn did, then use Petzing to understand what Arizona was trying to accomplish against it. Again, other questions that can be answered, or situations that come about. If a particular front had changed Murray's protection, Petzing knows why. If pressure forced Arizona away from a preferred concept, Petzing knows what that original answer was supposed to be. And if Detroit's coverage forced Murray to hold the football or leave the pocket, Petzing can explain what Murray believed he was seeing in that moment. So Glenn's film will provide that defensive blueprint. Petzing can provide the offensive autopsy after the fact. Shepard can use both rather than simply just copying old calls or relying on the most recent film data that he'll get, throughout the season. Now, Petzing can attack Murray's processing, and this is where having a new offense and can change things. But Petzing, is obviously smart enough to be able to weed through these things. So let's talk about Minnesota's offense under O'Connell. It'll be different, right, from Arizona's offense, 1,000%. But a new system does not automatically erase a quarterback's processing habits. There's just things that these guys do. I mean, they're creatures of habit. They do the same things day in, day out. You heard Scotty Montgomery say that the other day. The question was asked, why did Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown have such a good connection? And he said habits. They do the same thing every single day. They do it with intent. So the recent observations from Vikings camp over the last week and a half, really, has raised some questions about Murray being able to identify the open receivers over the middle when pass rush becomes active. And for most defenses, that becomes another scouting note that Detroit can now take it and further it by asking Petzing some more questions. Hey, does interior traffic affect Murray's sight lines? Remember, he has a lower, we'll just call it a lower center of gravity, if you will. Does pressure accelerate his internal clock? Does he become more likely to escape instead of reaching the next progression? Which safety rotations or underneath defenders have historically made him hesitate? So all great questions that you can ask a former coach of this quarterback to kind of figure out what is the best way to attack with defense. Now, those answers can influence Shepard's disguise package. Detroit can show one high and rotate late. They can present pressure before dropping defenders back underneath, or change the location of the fourth and fifth rushers after the snap. Petzing's value is not telling Shepard that disguise works. It's helping identify which disguise has worked against Murray in the past and why. Petzing knows best when the game tightens up. So in 7 games in which Arizona was within 7 points during the fourth quarter in 2024, Murray completed just 54.6% of his passes with 0 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He likes to turn the ball over when things get heated, when things get tight. So he produced a 31.9 passer rating. That is god-awful. So those numbers do not prove that Murray cannot perform late in games. They show that something has changed, right? And that Petzing can help Shepard diagnose it. Did defenses become more aggressive, right? Were they eliminating Arizona's preferred concepts? Did protection become more predictable? Was Murray being forced deeper into his progression? And, did obvious passing situations remove movement and play action elements that Petzing used to make him more comfortable? So Petzing does not have to reconstruct these situations from the outside. He was calling the plays, man. He knows. He knows what was going on. So that knowledge can be especially valuable when Shepard builds Detroit's third down, red zone, 2-minute, and the late game packages to attack him. My final thought on this whole thing is quite simple. The Lions are preparing to face Murray twice, and the advantage can compound from the first meeting to the second. The value that Petzing brings becomes a tactical advantage for Calvin Shepard. It's not just knowledge, man. It's an advantage. Now, in the first matchup, if Shepard gets to test Petzing, what Petzing knows, which he will, and how Murray responds inside the Kevin O'Connell system, then Detroit can find out which old tendencies still showed up, which pressure responses remain part of Murray's game, and which answers Minnesota has to build to protect him. God, I'm all sorts of itchy today. That second game is where Petzing's presence could become even more valuable. He knows Murray well enough to help Shepard anticipate the counterpunch, because it's going to come. So the attack, or you can attack the adjustments, attack the adjustments Murray and O'Connell made the first time. So if Detroit takes away one of Murray's preferred answers in game 1, how is he likely to respond in game 2 when he sees it again? And if Minnesota changes the protection, moves the pocket, or alters the progression to defeat the Lions' pressure plan, then what does that reveal about Murray and his tendencies with the football? Look, division football is an ongoing chess match. We know that. In the NFC North, little stat that I didn't know until the other day, I believe last year was the second time only in history that 2 divisions in the NFL finished with a winning record. I think it's only happened one time before. So it's a gauntlet of a division, or at least it was last year because you had a lot of teams playing crap schedules, except for the Lions. So this isn't a one-game scouting assignment. Every call from the first meeting becomes information for the second. And Petzing gives Detroit a rare ability to evaluate those adjustments around the eyes of a coach who already understands this quarterback. In a division where two head-to-head games can determine the NFC North title, playoff seeding, or even a tiebreaker, this is a real advantage. Detroit doesn't just get a head start prepared for Kyler Murray. It gets two opportunities to turn Drew Petzing's knowledge of him into wins that can lead to a division title in 2026. Hope you all enjoyed that little article. Again, don't forget to subscribe. There's 25% off in there. If you do subscribe to an annual, there's 25% off if you decide to send one to a friend and you buy two. Or you can just subscribe for free. All you got to do is put your email in right here. Just pop it in, hit subscribe, and you're done. You don't have to put a credit card in. You don't have to do anything else. And get that puppy updated. Today's going to be a crappy day with allergies. I can just see it already, man. It started early. You know, it's funny. Someone just mentioned the word taller. That just stood out to me. When I was looking for images of Kyler Murray and Drew Petzing together, I really couldn't find a good one. Is Petzing like 5'5"? Like, is he really that much shorter? Because Kyler Murray is pretty short. And he was towering over Petzing. I mean, they have Murray at 5'10". I think he's more like 5'9", 5'8". Petzing looked like he was 5'4", 5'5". He looked pretty small compared to him. So anyway, I thought it was a good report here to go in and just kind of talk about what's coming down the pike and utilizing Drew Petzing in more ways than just an offensive coordinator. He's really going to help out. In my opinion, I think he's really going to help out Calvin Shepard. Now, I'm not saying Calvin Shepard needs the help. It's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that these types of opportunities are rare in the NFL. Now, coaches move around all the time, but this was the former offensive coordinator that, was just with this guy. So I think it's going to lend to some pretty amazing defense. All right. When we get back, take a quick break. 7 on 7. Who do I want to see tonight? And some of this is a little early because I am doing the pregame huddle today. That'll be this afternoon. Or maybe I'll just do it before the pregame, but I typically like to do the pregame huddle the day before. So next week I'll try to get it done the day before. It's just been super busy and it's preseason. I really don't care. But anyway, we'll try to get it out earlier next week. But today we're just roll with the punches. We're just going to roll with it. We'll be right back. Checking in.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from UperLights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit UperLights.com for all your UV flashlight needs with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from UperLights.com.
That line always gets me every time. Just what you want, not what you didn't.
This guy's been everywhere tonight.
What a play by Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell. Bam! Meets him right there, runs his feet. Doesn't get any better than that.
And it's Jack Campbell who wraps him up.
That is textbook linebacker play.
What the I'm talking about?
All right. Now, I got a 7 on 7 that we're going to go through, and there's a ton of information in here, so I'm going to try to parse it down, not have it drag on for like an hour. It may not drag on for an hour. Maybe 30 minutes. I'll stop between offense and defense. I'm going to do 2 articles each week. I'll do my offense and I'll do my defense for players to watch. We also have keys to the game that will also come out before each game. There'll be video and an article. But at least now through preseason, we'll do players to watch. Matchups is kind of what it turns into in the regular season. We do, matchups or keys to the game, same kind of thing. Keys to victory. I mean, people call it all sorts of stuff, but I try to be different. But it seems like every year someone takes something from last year, and then you got to try to change it. I don't want to change. I want to keep it the same every year. I really do. All right, let me get this thing loaded up here. So start putting it in the chat, man. Who are the players that you want to see tonight and why? Who are the players you want to see tonight and why? I mean, obviously we're going to get a lot of the back end players. I think that's to be expected. But I think over the next couple of games, man, these preseason games are really going to help separate a couple of players. I'm only streaming on this channel, aren't I? Oh, well. Okay, 7-on-7 tonight. We're going to start with the offensive players to watch first. First preseason game, man. It's about to establish the starters for the season. I mean, that's just what it does. It's about, it's about finding out which players the Lions can trust and which of those players can become starters, right? Obviously, you're not playing a lot of starters tonight. Now, Thursday night, Cincinnati, Dan Campbell has made the evaluation standard very clear. He wants to see players remain disciplined. He wants them to use technique that they've been taught and handle live competition when the game is no longer controlled by the practice field. And I think it's super important to go back to what Dan Campbell just said the other day. I'd rather have you do the rep the right way and make the mistake than to do it the wrong way, make the mistake, and still lose the rep. Like, Dan doesn't care if you lose the rep 10 times in a row. I mean, he cares, but he kind of said that point, like, if you're doing it right, you're doing it how we teach you, at some point, you're going to get it. And then when you get it, it all just starts to work. You just hope that you get it before the end of camp or within the first couple of games of the regular season, and that you haven't made too many mistakes before, that time. So tonight is all about watching for technique, and that's what I'm going to be looking for. I'm not looking for just a pancake block. I'm not looking for just, a linebacker decleating a running back. Those plays are great. I'm not looking for the one-handed leaping catch out of bounds. Wonderful play. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for technique. Are you running a crisp route? Right? Are you snapping off at the top of the route? Are you selling the route? How are your hands and your feet working together? Are you in sync? And as far as offensive tackles, what does that anchor look like? When you take a speed rush, are you able to, flow at the edge and continue to, push them around the arc? Do you lose to the inside counter like Blake Miller has already had in camp multiple times? He's lost to the inside counter. That's what I'm going to be looking for. Now, it's pretty hard to watch 14 players in any given game, even though I have 14 players that I want to see tonight. I'm going to kind of take my pick. So the ones that are going to be starting first, I'm going to keep my eyes on first, offense and defense. And then obviously as the game goes, you're going to get more of an opportunity to watch players. What sucks is NFL Pro does not do the film on preseason. I wish they would, but they don't. So I can't go back and break it down unless I record the game myself. But it's pretty difficult. And I'll still record it. So for the 7 players that I've selected for tonight, which I'm sure a lot of it's going to match what other people have spoken about already too, but the Bengals game is going to provide something that training camp obviously has not been able to this point. And you're going up against a really good quarterback, and Joe Shiesty, who's supposed to start tonight. There's going to be several starters playing for the Bengals, at least since yesterday. It could have changed. But NFL game speed, man, unfamiliar personnel, the consequences when an assignment is missed. I mean, there's so many different variables to this game that tonight is going to be a reflection of where they are right now in training camp, in their development. And there's none more important tonight than Luke Altmaier. Can he run the offense? If this were Josh Dobbs, who's been in the locker room for the last several weeks, I don't think I'd be worried one bit. I'm more worried about Luke Altmaier getting this plane off the ground, right? Now, once he gets it off the ground, it's going to be bumpy. There's going to be turbulence, and it might even crash. But can he get the nose back up again? Well, that's what I'm looking for out of Luke. I'm not looking for him to pass for 300 yards. I'm not looking for him to run the ball for 50. I'm not looking for 6 touchdowns. I just want to see solid competitive play, getting through his progressions, and finding the open receiver, and recognizing the pressure and making a good move, right? Luke Altmaier is getting his first opportunity tonight because Teddy Bridgewater's retirement just a week before the preseason game changed the room. And so even though we have Josh Dobbs, who arrived this week, he's only been in the building now for 4 days? So there's just not enough time for Dobbs to get, up to speed, but expected that Dobbs will play tonight. So the undrafted rookie, mind you, brings legitimate college production. He completed 67.4% of his passes, 3,007 yards, 22 TDs, and 5 interceptions at Illinois in 2025. So he has great production, good numbers, elite arm talent, and he's shown that the arm talent and the composure that he's had so far through camp is something that not just Drew Petzing, but Dan Campbell has taken a liking to. There's going to be rookie mistakes. They're usually going to involve the timing, the rhythm, the reads, and the game management could also be a problem, for Luke tonight. But hopefully not. Hopefully he's able to manage those 2-minute drills or the 4-minute offense or end of half or end of game situations. How does he control the huddle? Are guys getting in? Are they getting out on time? Is he getting to the line with enough time? I'm looking at all the fine little details that can hold you up in a game. Can he get the offense properly aligned? Can he make the right checks? Now, we're not going to know what the checks are because we don't even know what the first call was. But these are the things that we'll hear about later. Getting through his progressions, I think, is going to be the most important. Is he going to lock eyes and just stick with a receiver that he knows he's going to go to? Or is he going to be able to move around and keep the defense guessing? Because if he locks eyes, there's going to be some negative plays tonight. The backup quarterback conversation is incredibly interesting right now and vital to this team. Not that I want for any second of any game for Jared Goff to be out of a game unless we're up by 40 points. But Altmaier's test tonight is being able to process quickly and make the physical ability of what he has as a quarterback usable tonight. Dan Campbell said this about Luke Altmaier. He says, quote, "It doesn't feel too big to him right now, and that is a great sign at that position." So all signs pointing north for Luke Altmaier tonight. Hopefully he just has a decent game. He's going up against a really good defense. Even the second team, it's a really good defense. They've made some big changes over there. Number 2 is Blake Miller. First real test. Now, he's been going up against Aiden Hutchinson, Tyler Lacey, Aleem McNeil, and others. And throughout his camp, he's been tested. He's been tested big time. Blake has already received the education from the Lions defense, but at 17th overall, it's time to fly, right? It's not going to be a smooth sailing night for him, but he has worked repeatedly against our number 1 offense. Like I said, Aiden, DJ Wanham. He's won some and he's lost many. He's gotten beat bad and he's gotten beat. And he's gotten beat by speed. And it's that inside counter that I'm most worried about. Miller entered the NFL with unusual experience, I would say, for at least a rookie tackle. Started 54 games in a row at Clemson, logging a school record, not high school, 3,778 offensive snaps in a row. 96.5% coming at right tackle. Cincinnati provides that first real live bullet test, right? Watch what his set angle looks like, his hand timing, the anchor. And when an edge defender threatens speed, what does he do? More important, watch what happens after he loses. Does he overset the next rush? Does the inside counter get him twice? Detroit doesn't need a flawless debut out of Miller. It needs evidence that Miller can recognize what beat him, correct it, stabilize, and then obviously don't overprocess it the next time and allow it to happen again. Dan Campbell's game test quote said, "How quickly can Miller diagnose and correct a losing rep against an unfamiliar NFL pass rush?" I'm sorry. That was my game test. Let me go back. I can't see. Hold on. My game test for him tonight was how quickly can Miller diagnose and correct a losing rep against an unfamiliar NFL pass rush. Dan Campbell's quote was, "He does not get too high. He does not get too low. So his demeanor's just right." We'll see that tonight, hopefully. Number 3, maybe a surprise. Now, I kind of put these in order of the ones I'm most interested in. Jackson Meeks, the position change, the hybrid receiver and tight end role. Jackson Meeks may be Detroit's most interesting offensive roster experiment this year. Now, last season, at the end of the season, early in the offseason, I made a call. I said that a wide receiver was going to go to the tight end room. And I said that individual most likely should have been Isaac Tesla. Had the frame. He was only about 15 to 17 pounds off of the mark to be a smaller tight end, but a gifted tight end. But instead, the Lions were cross-training Meeks last year a little bit when they got down in the depth chart. And so this year, they made the official move. And so tonight, we're going to see it all come together. But either way, I was expecting someone to make the change, and Jackson Meeks has flourished so far. But it gets real tonight. So the Lions moved him as a former wide receiver, still a wide receiver, and he's also going to play multiple positions, being tight end and receiver. He can line in tight, and then they can kick him out wide as a receiver. And that is the unique thing about taking a receiver, adding a few pounds to him, and then throwing him in there as a tight end, because he still has the hands, the speed, and everything that he did as a receiver. But making him a true hybrid, tight end, H-back, big slot role, and a receiver at times at 6'2", 235 pounds. Look, he's like a little Scud missile, man. He's dense. He's a dense frame. He's a dense 235. People have made the analogy to Deebo Samuel, and I think he's bigger than Deebo. May not be as fast as Deebo. Oh, as fast as Deebo once was, but Meeks is an interesting cat. More distinct path, obviously, this year for him on the roster is to make the tight end room. Camp reports have repeatedly shown his ability with the second team offense, with injuries at tight end, creating additional opportunities. So the question really tonight is no longer whether Meeks can catch the ball. We know he can. That's why he was brought in as a receiver. The bigger test is the part of the position that can't be hidden. Watch him as he's attached to the formation. Can he fit his hands, maintain leverage? Can he execute a sift and insert blocks and handle the physical work without tipping the run or the pass by personnel usage? That is going to be the biggest defining measurement for Meeks tonight. If he can establish an acceptable blocking floor and contribute on special teams tonight, I think his receiving background becomes much more valuable, and Detroit has a legitimate reason to consider a fourth tight end this year. I'm pretty high on Meeks. I think he's going to make the roster right now, but the next 3 games are going to prove it. It's going to prove it. Let's see if he's up to the test. And here's the game test. Can Meeks do enough dirty work tonight to make the hybrid role playable rather than just an experiment? The reason why I went back to the word dirty work is because Dan Campbell mentioned that at one of the very first press conferences after one of the very first practices, that he mentioned that Meeks was going to have to do the dirty work. And so tonight, that's what I'm looking for, the dirty work. Dan Campbell's quote says, "We want to find if there's something in there where he can be this hybrid H-back tight end in big slot." Slot, S-L-O-T. That probably sounded funny. All right, number 4, which maybe should have been number 1, Seth McLaughlin. This opportunity for Seth, I came out of nowhere, right? We were not expecting to have to worry about the center position this year, but his roster opportunity just changed dramatically when Cade Mays went down. Injury in his wrist, I believe it was a broken wrist that was announced, and then now Juice Scruggs has been sidelined with a soft tissue issue. So McLaughlin has received the majority of the first team work this week against Lee McNeil and Tyleek Williams. Both veterans have won some early battles, but McLaughlin has also settled in as he's been getting more experience. Now, his resume is intriguing. McLaughlin won the 2024 Remington Award at Ohio State before tearing his Achilles late that season. He went undrafted, which is mind-boggling, and spent the 2025 season on Cincinnati's practice squad. He gets to go back and see him this year. Now, he's going up against his former team tonight, so the critical work begins really before the snap because you need to watch his front identification, the mic points, the protection communication, the snap-to-step efficiency, and his anchor against the interior power. Their defensive line is pretty tough, so he's gonna have a pretty big challenge tonight. Where was I? Where was I? I just lost my spot. All right, so I'll just go back to this. I already talked about mic points, efficiency, and anchor. So the anchor against interior power. So center isn't just a position where surviving a block is enough. Detroit needs someone capable of organizing the other four linemen, right? While keeping the interior of Jared Goff's eventual pocket clean. That is probably the most important thing for me tonight is Luke Altmaier being able to have a clean space to work from. And the A-B gaps are always the quickest way to the quarterback. And so that is what Seth is protecting tonight. He's protecting a young rookie quarterback from himself and making sure that he keeps him upright because this is going to be a big test going up against these big men that he hasn't seen yet, right? And there's going to be a lot of butterflies for Seth. He hasn't played any meaningful football outside of this training camp. So the game test is, can McLaughlin operate the offense mentally while holding up physically against the NFL interior defenders that he's going to face tonight with Cincinnati? I didn't have a good quote from Dan Campbell that I could find. Tried to match one up. Next one, number 5, offensive lineman, swing tackle, swing guard, swing everything, Miles Frazier. Versatility can win this job. And Miles Frazier's entered camp as an interior depth, but his ability to move outside changed his value immediately. The second-year lineman appeared in 5 games in 25 without allowing a sack, and Detroit's offensive line preview specifically identified Frazier as a young player that the organization likes. Early in camp, he also worked into the first team at the left guard rotation, which has now been pretty much settled with Mahogany. His preseason value comes down to position flex. A reserve who can dress at guard and tackle changes the game day roster construction that allows the Lions to be unique with other positions on the roster. So he doesn't have to carry a separate backup. Dan doesn't have to carry a separate backup for every spot now. And so watch whether Frazier maintains his base, his hand discipline, and when he moves outside, how does he react to the speed rush? That's obviously going to test him. Is he going to overset and get exposed, or will an inside counter, get to him and he makes the ultimate mistake? At guard, watch his anchor and ability to create movement vertically, and a clean performance at multiple positions tonight could strengthen Frazier's standing as one of Detroit's first offensive linemen off the bench. One of the bigger things that I want to see tonight is, will the Lions put him at both spots? Are they going to put him at guard and then kick him out to right tackle? Or are they going to put him at guard and then kick him out to left tackle? I think the answer is yes. I think you're going to see a little bit of both. Probably go to right tackle, I would assume before he goes left. But then again, maybe not. I have to go back and look at the depth chart one more time. I think they're going to play him all over the place. And who knows? Maybe he gets a quarter here and a quarter there and gets a lot of time in so that the Lions can really get a good quality, good quality outing from him to see where he fits. My game test, obviously, for Frazier is just, he's capable of playing multiple positions. And which positions can the Lions trust him most at? I think that's what I'm looking for tonight. Dan Campbell said that he can play the guard, he can play the tackle, he can sustain blocks, he's got power, he's pretty tenacious. I think that, again, Brad Holmes, man, did you guys think that we were going to have 5th and 6th round offensive linemen not only making this roster, but being potential starters on this team? I certainly didn't. But that just shows you again that the that the value that wasn't placed on Mahogany during that draft. I think a lot of teams made some mistakes. The report at the time that came out was that Mahogany had 1 inch shorter leg than the other during his testing, and they didn't like that. Well, I mean, I don't know the truth of that. Like, is one of his legs really longer? I mean, maybe he just needed a back adjustment. I mean, my leg's shorter on one side than the other when I need a back adjustment. I'm also fused, so there's not much you can adjust anymore. But yeah, if you're just slightly out in the spine, man, you can definitely be off. And again, I don't know the validity to any of that, but that's what was reported. If you take a look at camp pictures, or I'm sorry, travel pictures. Let me pull one up. I found this to be quite interesting. Matter of fact, it was just in the article. Golly, I'm so itchy. Let me find it. This picture was crazy. Once I'm done with these two, I'll jump into the chat here. Oy. I hate these stupid ads that they put in. It's got to be coming. There it is. No, that's not it. Where is it at? There it is. Look at this. Look at how big Mahogany is compared to Penei Sewell. I mean, just start with the calves and work your way up. Mahogany appears to have much bigger thighs than Penei Sewell. A broader chest, a thicker, wider chest, broader, thicker shoulders. He's taller. But Mahogany is an absolute specimen. In comparing to anybody to Penei Sewell, and again, I'm not saying that he's, like as good as Penei Sewell, but I'm just saying body type wise, when you compare these two, Mahogany definitely has the bigger body, and he's still developing. That's the crazy thing, is he's still developing. All right, Ben Bartch is number 6. No surprise there, right? Left guard competition is still available. And then also right guard backup. Ben Bartch could probably do both, but he's finally reaching the preseason. He spent most of this offseason in early camp recovering from what I think was a Liz Frank injury that ended his 2025 season. And when the Lions brought Bartch in to compete at left guard, it was supposed to be an instant competition, but obviously, he was down for a while. So he missed a lot of practice time, and Mahogany's just been running away from everybody in that competition. So this week really provided his first meaningful time in camp and any sort of an indication that the competition may not be finished just yet, but I'm still giving it to Mahogany. So in Tuesday's one-on-ones, DetroitLions.com, Tim Twentyman described Bartch as, quote, complete roadblock against rookies Skylar Gill-Howard and Tyree West. His 2025 numbers also deserve attention. 6 games, 0 sacks allowed, and 0 penalties. Cincinnati tests whether that strength can survive consecutive live snaps. And we're going to watch Bartch's anchor tonight against Power, his ability to reset his hands after the initial contact, and the conditioning at this point in the season. As his workload increases, will he be able to stay into the game without getting gassed tonight? We'll see where he's at conditioning-wise. Game test for Bartch, it's pretty simple. He has recovered from the injury physically to force his way back into the conversation. Now what are you going to do with it? Right? We just want to see Barch play, solid complementary football tonight. He's an experienced vet. He shouldn't be making a lot of mistakes. Obviously, the scheme and everything that the Lions are running may be a little bit challenging because he hasn't been out there practicing for a long time. Dan Campbell said, quote, "There's a reason he's here. We think he brings outstanding competition. He's got a shot." Last but not least, Dominic Lovett, number 7. Look, his camp momentum needs a game. He's been playing well. Dominic Lovett is moving in the right direction this year and at the right time. After opening camp with some of the inconsistencies that were hurting his game last year, following his rookie season, played in 12 games without recording a single reception. Lovett has capitalized on increased opportunities this season with the wide receiver 5 and the wide receiver 6 competition, and Jackson Meeks obviously heading to a different position. He has produced a deep completion from Teddy Bridgewater that later flashed his ability to finish through traffic on contested catches over the middle. And even Pride of Detroit's latest roster polling reflected the change that Lovett moved to 6. 6 in votes, I think, up from the previous check, putting him virtually even with Cedric Wilson in the tightly contested reserve battle. I would be surprised if they let Lovett walk over Wilson, but man, Wilson has just been he's been a breath of fresh air for Dan. So tonight we got to watch Lovett's release against press, the timing on breaking routes or breaking routes, and his strength through contact, and most importantly, the special teams reps, and even beyond that, probably the most important thing is his blocking downfield. The third phase of special teams is what usually separates the very back end of any positional group. So my game test for Lovett tonight is, can Lovett turn receiving flashes into multiple phase value that is required for the Lions to keep that 5th or 6th receiver? They have to be good in special teams. That is my 7-on-7 read for the offense. Right when I get back, we're going to talk about defense right after we get through the chat.
Well, this guy's been everywhere tonight.
What a play by Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell. Bam! Meets him right there, runs his feet. Doesn't get any better than that.
And it's Jack Campbell who wraps him up.
That is textbook linebacker play.
What the I'm talking about?
All right. Now, I didn't do any polls this morning. I probably should have. So, out of the ones that I listed, how many were on your list? Go ahead, just list them right in the chat right now. Which ones are most important for you tonight? While you're doing that, I'm going to get the defense loaded up here. Now, again, these will be available on DetroitFootballJournal.com after the show. I'll get them put in, and then hopefully, video's not terrible that I can't clip it and add it to. A lot of editing. That's why I need help. I did get a few emails about people that want to help out. I am looking for help. I'm looking for, like social media experts, people to do cross posting and some other things, but I'm not going to give away too much of it on air. Proprietary things that I want to do that I've always done, but I haven't had an assistant in a while. All right. Defense is loaded. All right. So who's most important to you tonight? Out of the 7 that I listed, Blake Miller, I think, has got to have a great night tonight. For that 17th pick to really settle, I think, with the fans, who a lot of fans wanted Monroe Freeling. I never thought, you guys know I never thought Monroe Freeling was a good fit. Daniel Jeremiah really loved Monroe Freeling in the very beginning. Then everybody flipped to Proctor. I was always on Proctor. And Blake was, like, if there was nobody else left, it was Blake. Because after that, I really didn't care for, some of the other guys that would have been. Now, I wouldn't have minded, taking a gamble on Oh my God, why did I forget his name right now? He's only played football for like 4 years. I think he went in the second round. Maybe he went in the first. Wasn't Rutledge. Not Lomo. Oh, Max Ihanichor. Yeah, he went just for a few picks later. I wouldn't have minded Max Ihanichor either. And I haven't followed him yet to see how he's been doing this year, but it was either Blake, Proctor, or Ihanichor for me. Outside of that, I didn't really like anybody else. It's pretty thin this year in the draft. So Blake's got to have a great night. John Desage says, I don't think we see a lot of Blake tonight. We might give him a whole quarter. The question is he going to get in first or second? Because according to the depth chart, it doesn't appear that he's going to start tonight, which, again, depth charts are kind of meaningless at this point. I'm kind of interested to see what some of the other guys wrote. Let's see what Tim Twentyman's got. He's got 5 things to watch. And did that include Okay, so here's what Tim Twentyman said about Blake Miller. He says, Campbell said Tuesday he plans on playing first-round pick Blake Miller, who has played most of the first-team reps at right tackle to begin camp. So the number 17 overall pick has had some ups and downs. But that's the life of a rookie in their first training camp, especially when you're matching up against an all-pro edge rusher in Aiden Hutchinson. Second-team all-pro edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson. And, you know, it's even funny for Blake. Like, isn't he from Ohio? And wasn't Cincinnati his team growing up? I'm almost positive on that. Should have done a little article on the like the who's who and the connections, the game connections. I don't see anybody doing those anymore. Yeah, he's definitely from Ohio. He was a fan of the Browns, not the Bengals. Look at that. Chose the wrong team. Whatever. Now he's a Lion. Don't even matter. Ace Boogie, let me help you with something, buddy. Let me just help you with something. We call that spam. See you, buddy. Just not going to do it. Ain't got time for it. Who's Jamari Johnson? What are we talking about here, Attila? John Barfield says, most of our starting line is 6'3 to 6'6", 320 plus pounds. Any idea where we compare to last year? I haven't looked myself. The Mega Mind offense. Drew Petzing. All right, we'll keep rolling. I don't see you guys as top 7 in there. I'm going to roll with the defense. All right, so we got 7-on-7 defense. Who to watch tonight versus the Cincinnati Bengals coming up right now.
Well, this guy's been everywhere tonight.
What a play by Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell.
bam, meets him right there, runs his feet. Doesn't get any better than that.
And it's Jack Campbell who wraps him up.
That is textbook linebacker play.
What the I'm talking about?
All right, so Lions have their first preseason game tonight against the Cincinnati Bengals. And this year, we're doing something a little bit different. 7-on-7, who to watch? 7 on defense, 7 on offense. We've already done the offense. Now we're going to get into the defense. Obviously, the Lions training camp has produced several unexpected risers on defense this year. And it's been quite impressive, not only to watch, but to listen, to hear, to read. Just how amazing this defense around Calvin Shepard has really taken advantage of what is now their new 4-2-5 defense. If you haven't noticed, on the depth chart that was just released last night, there was one major change. It was not listed as a 4-3 base. Now, was it a typo? Was it a mistake? I don't know. But we've heard for a long time now that the Lions were going to be switching to more nickel. That's what they've been doing throughout camp. And now the defense is listed as such. But talking about some of these risers, there's none bigger right now than Nick Whiteside. Second to that, Ahmed Hassanin. And even Eric Hunter in spades has already been identified as, among some of the young players that are consistently producing big plays in practice, whether it's special teams or on the defense. Skylar Gill-Howard has surged late, as of late, at least in the last few days, and Ennis Rakestraw enters the preseason needing big-time consistency changes to his game. So for the Lions defensive staff, production is what's going to matter. Assignment integrity matters more. So we're going to start with number one, my favorite player to watch tonight. You would thought I was going to say Nick Whiteside. Ahmed Hassanin. He's had a camp breakout, man, and he needs to travel with that attitude, and I expect nothing less. Ahmed Hassanin has moved from a developmental edge last year to one of the strongest camp stories here in 2026. The Lions shifted the 6'2", 270-pound second-year defender from rush end to big end, returning him to a role that was very similar to the one in which he produced 22 sacks and 33 tackles for loss during his final 2 seasons at Boise State. Now, that move has translated big time into camp. He's won one-on-ones. He's entered the backfield during team periods, and he's earned second-team opportunities. Ahmed Hassanin has just been a complete nightmare in camp. But Cincinnati is not simply a team just waiting for Hassanin to put on a sack audition. The big end requires discipline. Now, watch tonight whether Ahmed Hassanin can strike and control the edge, play with leverage against larger tackles, squeeze the run lanes, and maintain rush integrity when the quarterback moves. His motor has already separated him in camp. The next big step is proving that all that energy can remain inside Calvin Shepard's defensive structure when the opponent stops cooperating. And there's a big statement by Dan Campbell the other day. He was a ball of energy, right? And now you have to kind of stop him from freelancing a little bit. So the game test tonight for Ahmed Hassanin is, can he convert relentless effort, high motor into repeatable assignment sound football, staying within his structure? And Dan Campbell said, quote, he's had a really good camp. He is all out all the time. And I expect nothing less tonight. Number 2 on my list. This is not a surprise. This has been a camp story, and it's been a hell of a camp story this year. It was really hard to choose between Ahmed Hassanin and Nick Whiteside here at number 2. The biggest riser in the secondary is Whiteside. Last season, Whiteside joined this team, part of the Legion of Whom. He may have changed his standing more than any defensive back in the Lions camp this year. After playing in 9 games, primarily on special teams last season, Whiteside has produced interceptions, pass breakups throughout the first 11 practices, and earned first-team reps while DJ Reed rehabs a groin injury. What's next for Whiteside? There's already limited regular season evidence, but Whiteside has put in 40 defensive snaps against Tampa Bay last season, and he recorded 3 PBUs in that game. It was one of the most amazing games by players that most of us didn't even know their last name. And at 6'1", 200 pounds, his length gives him a chance to disrupt the releases of these receivers tonight and finish at the catch point. He's one of the largest corners on the team. The preseason question is whether that production can survive complete route concepts rather than an isolated camp reps, if you will. So let's watch for his leverage tonight when routes are layered and his eye discipline when he's working against play action and the transition at the top of the routes and his tackling in space. Camp earned him the opportunity. Cincinnati can provide Whiteside an even bigger opportunity to prove that he belongs in Detroit and he belongs in this defensive rotation, not just on the roster. So what's the game test for Whiteside? I think that Whiteside's ball production could hold up tonight and against an opposing offense and a scheme that specifically is trying to layer what the defensive coverage is and take advantage of it in steps. This is where Whiteside needs to show that he can really step up and produce when the game is on the line, or at least when he's getting threatened, when he's being targeted, because he's going to get targeted. Dan Campbell said, quote, "He is rising. It is not too big for him." We've heard that about a few players so far throughout camp. And this next player, Ennis Rakestraw, well, it's time to stack some days for Ennis. Ennis has been a menace throughout camp. He's just not finishing. He's been consistently inconsistent. And it's not a bad thing. When you think about Ennis Rakestraw, you have to consider the fact that he's been around the team now, entering his third season. But this is really his first real camp outside of last season, where he ended up getting banged up and lost for the season during a joint practice. So he hasn't spent a lot of time on the field. He hasn't spent a lot of time inside this defense. He's had very limited production and very limited opportunities. But that's not what he's showing. He's showing that he is growing at a very fast rate. And Ennis Rakestraw enters the opener tonight under more pressure than probably any other former second-round pick should face entering the season. I think he's catching a bad rap because of the whole Terrion Arnold situation and how that whole thing has kind of fallen on its face. And Ennis was the second corner taken. I think it was a smart move now when you look at what Brad Holmes did in that draft and making sure that he could build for the future. Injuries has limited him to 8 games, and as a rookie, it cost him his entire season. Entire 25 season. He began camp competing with Rocky Sin for the outside job opposite of DJ Reed, but when Whiteside's emergence pushed Rakestraw toward more second-team work, well, now it's time to see Rakestraw respond. There have been positive flashes, but you've heard it from Dan before. We don't want flash. We want consistency. He has stayed attached to the hip of Jameson Williams on just about every single rep, making it very difficult. He's added upper body strength and worked both outside and inside at the nickel so far. He's also punched the football out from Tom Kennedy during teamwork. The problem is the consistency that I mentioned earlier. Watch Rakestraw's leverage tonight, route recognition, tackling, and most importantly, his response after giving up a completion. It demands a short memory, and Detroit needs a series of ordinary winning snaps and just more than one in a row. He needs to have some spectacular breakups tonight following his assignment loss, if you will, over the last week in camp. The game test tonight is simple for Rakestraw. He needs to eliminate the swings and begin stacking the clean football reps that Detroit needs to see from him. And I think he'll do it tonight. I think Rakestraw's going to have a good night. Dan Campbell said, quote, "He's had some ups and downs. He needs to string a few days together, hear of some good football," end quote. What do you guys think about Ennis Rakestraw right now? Probably the third man on the depth chart, unofficial depth chart. Let me go back to it. I think he was the third man, was he? Or is he the second? No, he's second. He was second right after Rocky Sin. Keith Abney was behind him. They've got Nick Whiteside behind DJ Reed. So that makes a lot of sense. You know, behind DJ and Rocky Sin, Nick Whiteside and Ennis Rakestraw are your next 1 and 2. So we're going to see both those guys on the field together tonight. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Number 4 for me. Could have been number 1. I just really like Ahmed Hassani. But Tyler Lacey, the dirty worker defender. And he has another gear, and he's shown it this year. Tyler Lacey has been an incredible pickup for this defense, and he's quietly become one of the most important structural pieces to the Lions being able to not only reshape this front, switching from potentially a 4-3 base to a 4-2-5 base, but at 6'4" and roughly 300 pounds, he has worked at the big end position with speed. He's also worked inside at camp, taking first-team defensive reps. Tyler Lacey has not quietly made his case. Tyler Lacey's been loud in camp, taking reps alongside Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, and Tyleek Williams. He played 10 games last season, 4 starts, recorded 21 tackles, and 1 sack. And if you remember, Lacey was picked up last year. I think it was January of last year. Or no, it wasn't January of last year. He was picked up last year, end of August. I'm sorry. He was picked up last year, end of August, when he was let go. And so that was a huge pickup by Brad Holmes. We also had to stack 3 more last season, but Brad Holmes picked him up, and he stuck. He stayed with us. Brad and Dan could see the future in Tyler Lacey, and so far his value extends well beyond just a minor sack total. Lacey can build a heavy edge on early downs and reduce inside when Detroit changes the personnel looks. Tonight, though, I do want to watch his pad level. There's been some video that has come out that has shown where he's kind of getting too high at times, and then I want to see him working against down blocks. Was he going to anchor against combos, and is he going to have the ability to constrict the B gap instead of being displaced? All things to watch for still a young guy, but also watching him on passing downs. Campbell has identified an interior rush as the next stage of his development. It is also the next stage of this defense's development. If Lacey can turn his size and power into pocket compression, even from the 3 tech, right, he becomes substantially more useful and beneficial than just a base down edge setter early. Game test for Lacey tonight. Can he add enough interior pass rush to turn a reliable run defender into a 3-down rotational weapon? I think that the answer is yes, but we're going to find out tonight, right? Dan Campbell said, quote, "He's a football guy. He's a professional. He prepares, practices hard, and will do whatever you ask him to do." Lacey has just been on another level this season. It's been fun to watch, like I've said. I'm excited to see his growth tonight, and I think that Lacey could end up becoming one of the mid-season players that we really look back at and say, man, what a good choice to keep that guy around. I think that he could have a stellar year. It might even be a major breakout year for Lacey this season. He's surrounded by an incredible amount of depth in high-profile players. It makes it a little bit easier when you're learning from some of the best in the game. But he has really good backup behind him with Jack Campbell and a good vocal leader behind him with Jack Campbell. Number 5, linebacker Damone Clark. He's kind of had a quiet camp. Is he defensive depth? Is he a special teams weapon? What is he? I was really expecting for Damone Clark to come in and do a lot more, being more of that coverage assassin at the will position. Hasn't really worked out to that point yet. But Damone Clark is a vet, and he's one of the older vets on this list. But his role is far from unimportant. Clark has appeared in 55 career games of 26 starts, including a 109 tackle season for Dallas in 2023. His role shifted dramatically last year when he finished among the NFL leaders with 18 special teams tackles. And that's where that question starts. Is he depth on the defense, or is he special teams? How are the Lions utilizing him? And right now, I think it's being steered more towards special teams. Detroit initially brought him in at the open will competition. But Malcolm Rodriguez and Jimmy Rolder early in camp, and now the addition of Devin White, made that linebacker picture considerably more crowded, which means Clark's path to the eventual 53 has to be built on usefulness everywhere rather than just winning one starting position. He really needs to show how he can remain a quality player on special teams. Tonight, I'm looking to whether he can stay square through traffic and whether his spacing underneath in coverage is to his advantage or the offense's advantage. And then I'm going to watch every special team snap. A veteran linebacker capable of providing emergency defensive starts while covering multiple kicking units has a legit roster value, particularly when young linebackers are still learning how to survive in the NFL. Jimmy Rolder, Malcolm Rodriguez, not so much. Devin White, obviously a proven vet. Room's crowded. Game test tonight, can Clark prove that special teams is the floor and that defensive experience will make him too useful to leave off the final roster? Let me guys know what you think about Damone Clark. Has he had the camp that you expected? Because so far it's not the camp that I expected. Number 6, a man that I interviewed the day after he was drafted, Skylar Gil Howard. Rookie is starting to flash a little bit. I don't know if he has a nickname yet, but Skylar Gil Howard was such a breath of fresh air from an interview. I've interviewed quite a few athletes in my time, not all of them on this channel. And he was just so humble. And I learned so much about him. It was so easy to talk to him. And when I heard that he transitioned from a running back into a linebacker, into a defensive tackle, and put on 50 pounds in 1 year, and was still able to run in the mid 4.6s, man, did my ears perk up. Skylar Gil Howard can work sideline to sideline. And he, like I said, he's starting to flash in camp. It's taking him a little bit to get his wheels, rolling all at the same speed, but they're starting to. And I think that tonight you might see a little bit more from him. He's begun to look more like the disruptive interior defender that the Lions brought him in to be as a 6th-round pick in this year's draft. Now, he has admitted that his return from his ankle injury that ended his 25 college season contributed to a very difficult start. But on day 9, that began his breakout in his first practice. Well, not his first practice, but his first practice breakout. Let me say it that way. He generated multiple pressures and what would have been called sacks. Eventually receiving first-team reps very late in the day in practice, but hey, first-team reps are first-team reps. The quickness isn't surprising. Despite his shortened final college season, he finished with a 90 PFF pass rush grade. Not that we care about PFF, but you could see the value on film. And his first step was one of those traits that the Lions identified when drafting him. Cincinnati is the biggest test tonight, and at roughly 6 foot, 280 pounds, Gil Howard cannot allow any NFL guards to get square into his chest. So tonight we got to watch the pad level, hand placement, and his ability to re-anchor against the double team. It'd be interesting to see how the Lions utilize him. Are they going to try to get splash pressure with him? Are they going to make him hold down a gap, or are they going to move him around the line a little bit? And I think what is most important is to watch him how he works against the run game. I feel like Gil Howard can be one of those defensive, I hate to use always the word chess piece, but more of a weapon because he is so quick. I think you can bounce him out. I think you could stand him up. I think you can put him all over the place. Haven't heard much about it yet in camp, but we'll see where that grows. And maybe that's year 2. But at least now for year 1, utilizing a player like this that can cover sideline to sideline at 280 pounds is pretty incredible. So my biggest game test tonight is, can he combine that quickness with enough run game discipline to become a playable interior defender immediately, or at least in a backup role, and then work his way through special teams. He said he was excited in my interview to play special teams. And so far, I think that's where a lot of his value is coming from. Number 7, last but not least, is not the player that you thought it was, or maybe it is. Linebacker, Eric Hunter. Undrafted rookie, forcing his way onto a roster this year. The Ovid years kind of screwed him up a little bit. And it did for a lot of players. But Eric Hunter has all of these intangible qualities as a former safety. The speed, the instincts in the cover game. There is so much to Eric Hunter to love. The question is, can he put it together quick enough to make a roster? And I'm not so sure that it's there yet, but it's the special teams work tonight that I think is going to show up the most. Eric Hunter has followed the classic undrafted rookie formula, right? Run, hit, learn, become useful. It doesn't get any more simple than that. He's from Morgan State. He arrived after recording 102 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks last season. It's those TFLs that intrigue me the most. Utilizing that speed and the awareness and the vision to key and diagnose is what Eric Hunter does well. His athleticism has already translated to the NFL level. The biggest defensive splash that we've heard of or seen so far was an end zone interception on Jared Goff during a team scrimmage. But Detroit has been equally encouraged by his repeated special teams production. The game evaluation is everything tonight between the highlights and the lights, being under the lights. So let's watch how quickly Hunter can diagnose his run pass keys tonight and whether he fits the proper shoulder without overrunning the football. How does he handle the backs and tight ends in space and whether he finishes on tackles? There's no question that he can be a great special teamer, but the alignment, the lane integrity, and the block destruction may carry more weight than his defensive statistics. Hunter doesn't need to look like a starting linebacker. He needs to look trustworthy, and trustworthy enough that the Lions and Calvin Shepard don't want to lose that developmental upside come cut day. So tonight's game test for Hunter. Can he play fast? Can he play fast without playing reckless? And when the assignment becomes more complicated, how does he react? Dan Campbell said that Hunter is, quote, athletic, and he takes notes. He listens. He works his tail off in practice. So that is my 7-on-7 for defense. And look, the defensive list contains something that maybe the offensive list doesn't have as much of. Players who have already changed the depth chart conversation during camp. Hassanin, what a bright spot, forced his way into the big end discussion. Whiteside has gone from a depth corner special teamer to first team work and pretty much locked in as the third cornerback on this team. Hunter has made himself noticeable as an undrafted rookie. Gil Howard is beginning to surge, and Rakestraw sits on the other side of that equation. His opportunity hasn't disappeared, but the players around him have raised the standard. And if you know as well as I do in Detroit, the standard was set a long time ago. You have to meet the standard or you're going to get left behind. That's what makes this preseason opener so useful. Detroit gets to see and find out which camp developments are real once the opponent changes. The quarterback isn't wearing a red jersey anymore. And every missed assignment becomes very visible on film. Welcome to the NFL Moment. Start tonight at 7 o'clock, and I'm going to be right here doing a live stream talking about the game. Be right back.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from uperlights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit uperlights.com for all your UV flashlight needs with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from uperlights.com.
All right, so that is your 7-on-7, 7 offense, 7 defense. We talked about Drew Petzing. And kind of an unrelated story. Just some things that I picked up. And again, please do us a favor. If you love what you're hearing this morning, send us a like. It really helps the algorithm, helps the channel. Send us some comments, man. If you want a chance to win a Madden game, give it away to a kid, nephew, whatever. Keep it for yourself. Any console. We're probably just going to send you like a code or something, you know what I mean, as opposed to the game itself. Don't forget to sign up at DetroitFootballJournal.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed. A lot of you don't realize how many times you get unsubscribed. It happens all the time. Turn notifications on so you know when we're going live. There's been an issue with notifications. And if you noticed this yesterday, I think I was using an old link that I created last week, and it kept unlisting things, which I do unlist the live stream in the morning from time to time, depending if I want to get content out of it. And if you don't make the live stream, then you don't make the live stream, and then you just got to deal with what I put out later. I want to make sure that I maximize the content. So it said that yesterday's stream was 56 years old when we were done with it. YouTube's not 56 years old. I'm not 56 years old. And this is the same thing that I've dealt with before, and I don't know why it happens. So it's kind of crushed views. I mean, if something's 56 years old, it's not being shown to anybody, right? No one's going to see that. So I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but it happens. It's happened every year. Every year, right around this time. Bengals and Lions discussion today. Again, this afternoon, I'll come back and do the full breakdown. Look, it's a little bit different in preseason because we don't have film. We don't have, really anything to go off of, and we have rosters that are not complete. So it's really hard to do. Well, I guess I shouldn't say it's hard. It's just different to do like the keys to the game. But I still have to, do the pregame huddle or the pregame breakdown and just kind of discuss what we're looking for. It's very similar to the 7-on-7, just kind of quickly go over what I'm looking for and what we're hoping to see tonight, how the scheme changes that we're going to eventually see tonight will help this team. And I think the most important thing, y'all, like the explosives on defense. Last year, we gave up so many explosives. And I know I've been in arguments with plenty of audience members in the past about, like the job that Aiden does and how important that is to explosives on the back end, or even the other side, AQM or, Tyleek and Aleem. Look, if our front four, front five, front seven, whatever we're rolling, if it's not working, you're going to get explosives. And I always go back to the marriage between the secondary and really the edge position. They really work off of each other. If your edge is getting in faster than 3 seconds, then you're not going to have as many explosives. The problem is, and I'm not dipping in on Aiden today, but it's the truth. He doesn't get in fast enough. And whether he's singled up, whether he's singled and then chipped, or whether he's actually doubled, we probably should have done some football 101. But a double team here, I'll have AI explain it, so you don't have to hear it from me. Remember, PFF, when they put out all these things, all these double team rapes and double team rates, triple team rates, Fox I think puts them out too. You have to take it with a grain of salt because not everyone understands what these things are. And like PFF has like 600 employees, 18 and up, that have no football experience, a lot of them, and they're just doing data work. That's what they're trying to do, is just data work. Hey, look for this on this play, and if you think you see it, write it down. And so that gets extrapolated over, 32 teams. And God, how many starters is that? 740, I think. So you have 22 starters, 32 teams, 704. You have 704 starters at any given moment in a game that you have to watch, and you have 600 employees, and you're trying to pump out all of that content and all of that data in less than 24 hours. And to make matters worse, if you have all 16 games on the same day, even 14 games on the same day at 3 hours a pop, that's 42 hours worth of film that you're getting done in 24 hours. So the numbers don't jive. Like the math doesn't math. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is these are things to look for. It was last year, I think, I did a film review. Like they said that Aiden was doubled like on every play in a game. And I don't remember which game it was. But I did a film review and he wasn't doubled at all. Actually, I think there was one. But he really wasn't doubled at all. It was a lot of chips. So when an edge defender gets double teamed, it means that 2 offensive blockers are assigned to neutralize him on the same play instead of leaving 1 offensive tackle to handle him alone. The important part is not every double team looks the same, but they kind of do. In pass pro, the most common edge double team is offensive tackle and tight end, or offensive tackle and running back. Those are the most common. The tackle usually takes the primary pass pro responsibility, while the second blocker provides the help. But a true double team is when 2 players are meeting you kind of at the same time, right? And they meet you at the same time. They make contact, with you at the same time. Otherwise, if it's one and then the other, it's just a chip. So what I want to see from Aiden this year is less, which we're not going to see him tonight, but I want to see less spin move. I want to see more speed to power and that inside counter. That's what I want to see. I want to see more arm movement. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the explosives last year killed us. Now, we had a lot of injuries. Can't blame everything on injuries because you have to learn how to play within the scheme and play within, the players that you have. And sometimes the calls, the scheme don't dictate that. They don't allow it. So Aiden, he needs to get in quicker. Lacey's going to need to get in quicker. Leak and McNeil are going to need to be able to push that pocket a little bit deeper. And I think that all those things are going to happen. And now that we have a legit shot at seeing more 4-2-5 more often, we're going to have more opportunities for the nickel blitz, the corner blitz, the safety blitz. And I think that one of my biggest keys tonight, which we'll talk about later, is free rushers and a layered rush approach. So you're going to be sending players from everywhere. It's not going to look the same from down to down. If you can isolate, your extra DB that's in the game and they don't really have anyone to cover, let's say they have 2 tight ends, and I'm not even saying you'd have 4-2-5 out there, but if you had 2 tight ends in, 1 running back, 2 receivers, you might have an opportunity where you might have a corner or a safety available. Send them. Like if they're free, send them. If you have a linebacker that can pick someone up and you're playing more zone, send them. And I think that's what we're going to see. I bet you, I'm willing to guarantee you tonight that we will see, I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to go 3 free rusher type blitzes where we're going to have a single blitz coming from the secondary. We're going to see a nickel, a corner, and a safety blitz tonight. That's my call tonight on defense. And the nickel allows you to do that. So if Aiden is able to get in quicker, if Lacey's able to continue doing what he's doing, and DJ Wanham, he's been somewhat quiet, but at the same time, he's been very productive in camp. Those 2 guys are able to help that back end a ton with the explosives. So we need more of the fast pressure, right? A true pressure was like 2.25 seconds. And that was bumped back to like 2.5 by PFF. But I'm still going to judge and evaluate at 2.25. To me, that's a true fast pressure. And we went over that many times over the last couple of years too, that not all pressures are equal. And there's at least 20 different variables now that they're measuring pressure from. And that's changed. There used to be like 5 or 6 different styles of pressure. So why do we need so many? You know, I think that the true pressure just got to get in there quick. Quarterbacks can get the ball out in 2.5 seconds. And these fast receivers can get 25 yards upfield in 2.5 seconds. So it's imperative that the Lions play smart football and start to get in quicker. I also prepared something. I'm working on a few major article pieces. I'm not going to give all the goodies away, but I'm working a research project right now on the edge position. And it's going to go back to that conversation. Does it make more sense to have 2 tier 1 guys? And this all comes from that stupid article the other day. Yes, was it yesterday? No, it was the day before. The stupid article that says the Lions are urged to cut ties with Aiden Hutchinson. Compliment. If you didn't hear what I was saying, or if you didn't understand what I was saying, like this is what shows up on your phone. So when you read a YouTube title, you typically can only see the first 50 characters. So the way that people design their titles, and that's why I don't use a whole lot of characters all the time, is to try to show you everything that's in the title. But not everybody works that way. They will clickbait the first 50 and then put in some crap right at the end and make it super long so that it doesn't come off like it was clickbait, but the first half of it was. So coming directly from that article, I explored the edge position again. We've talked about it numerous times. Does it make sense to have, 2 tier 1 guys that are, like the highest paid in the league? And I think the number that I chose was 25 million or more. And then, or does it make sense to have, 4 tier 2 guys? Or does it make sense to have a tier 1 and 2 or 3 tier 2 guys? And you guys already know my answer. Those of you that know me know my answer. But the reason why I'm doing this is because not only have I been talking about it for 3 years, but the Lions finally did it. They finally did it. I said that they would go get the next edge when Aiden got his extension, that it would happen the very next year. They did. They got more. Now, they didn't get a first round pick because they needed an offensive lineman, but they got more in the second round. So they backed up an elite tier edge with Moore, who has all of the ability in the world. He might be a slow grower in the beginning, but he has all the ability in the world to end up being more of that big end power rusher that we're looking forward to. But then they brought in DJ Wanham, a speed to power type of defensive end. They brought in Peyton Turner, who's more of the big end that can flash with different varying combos of pass rush technique. He just hasn't been on the field. We can't forget about Ahmed Hassanin. He's, the guy that can kind of do it all. I mean, he's speed to power. He's power. He can do it all. He just needs time to kind of bake in the oven, if you will, and slow down that brain of his. So the Lions finally have all these, these tiered guys in there. And I would say that Wanham and Turner really fit in that tier 2 lane, even though they're not making that, $8 to $15 million range or $8 to $12 million range or $6 to $12 million range. Because that's where I see it. I see that you have a defined bar for tier 1 dollar range and then tier 2 dollar range. I'd rather have 3 guys that are paid $8 to $15 million a year with Aiden versus 2 tier 1 guys all day. And then also, some younger guys mixed in because you need conclusivity on your roster that you have the next step in line. So if you get an injury, you still have 2 high quality guys or 3 high quality guys that you can then backload with another, younger or developing or, free agent, that can help you out. But that's why I've always said it would never happen with those multiple expensive, super expensive edge, that you would see more of the tiered system. in Detroit because Brad loves flexibility and versatility. And he's all about depth. And so if you haven't picked up on that over the last 5 seasons, then I can't help you. But clearly that's what he's about. And that is probably the biggest reason outside of financially it never made any sense as to why I've always gone that direction. So I'm doing a research project on that, and I'm going to show you at every team over the last 5 seasons, what have they done? And there's only been a couple that have even really gotten close to having 2 tier 1 guys. And like Houston, they had a first round pick, right? Will Anderson, and then they bring in Danielle Hunter. That's about as close as you're going to get until maybe some of these recent moves with Myles Garrett. But and they got rid of what's his name. So it's a very interesting conversation. And those are the things that I love to write. I don't like to spend my time on, this player was in and out of practice today. No, I like to do real football stuff. Talk about the game. All right, we got to do Predicto. What do you guys want for Predicto? Send in your questions, and I got to get out of here. Aaron Green says, Hunter's going to blitz from that nickel position at least once tonight. That'd be solid. Let's ask that question. All right, Predicto, you're up. And by the way, those of you that are just joining, Mr. Predicto was only added because someone in the chat said, we need like a magic 8-ball to figure out what's going on with his team this year. And I was going to get that 8-ball, but I thought this thing was cooler. I never heard of it before. So here we go. Will Eric Hunter blitz from the nickel position at least once tonight?
Yes, I am sure.
There you go. We're going to have to track Predicto. I'm going to see if he gets it right. All right, what's the next question? I wonder how long it'll take before that one channel copies me on the Mr. Predicto. Just like everything else. But just so we're all clear, all of this stuff has probably been done a million times before. All right, first question is loaded in. Got it done. What's the next question? All right, will I win the Powerball this Friday? Wasn't that last night? Wasn't that big $1 billion one last night? I bought a ticket. You know what they say? You're not gonna win if you don't play. I bought a ticket. Attila, it's supposed to be football related, buddy. Yeah, this was last night. Did nobody win? Oh, stupid allergies. I'll ask it for you anyway, but let's stick to football. All right, is Attila going to win the Mega Powerball on Friday and share half of it with Will?
The answer is yes.
Huh. I'll look for that paycheck, buddy. Now you guys all heard it. If he wins, he's sharing it with me. You all heard that. All right, what's the next one? Someone did win it last night? Let me guess. It was probably California or Florida. All right, so will BB and Kirby play for a whole season after they return? Ooh, that's a good one. All right, so will Brian Branch or Kirby Joseph, will Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph play the whole season after they return to the football field?
It has been determined so.
Are you sure, Predicto?
Everything points to no.
Uh-oh. All right, come on, a couple more. I'll ask you the question. Will Nick Whiteside... Oh, it's going crazy. All right. Will Nick Whiteside come up with an interception tonight?
Yes, it is certain.
There you go. All right, one more. Get our 5 questions in. I don't think we can trust Predicto anymore. Yeah, a grower, not a shower. That's funny, Major Pain, because that's a title of one of my videos coming out. All right, one more question. Will McLaughlin establish himself as the number 2 center?
Highly doubtful.
Oh. That probably means Juice Scruggs does it. Oh, all right. We'll finish with that one, Attila. We'll replace your other one. All right. Will Ahmed Hassanin get to Joe Burrow tonight for the sack?
Now is not the right time to tell you.
Well, what do you mean? I need an answer.
Everything points to yes.
All right. There you go. Will Eric Hunter blitz from the nickel? Yes. Will Ahmed Hassanin sack Burrow? Yes. Will Kirby and Branch play the rest of the season when they get back? Yes. Will Nick Whiteside get a pick tonight? Yes. And will McLaughlin settle in as the number 2 center? No. All right, that's it for today. I got a ton more stuff I could go through, but I got to save something for the afternoon. Make sure you turn notifications on so that you know that when I'm going live today for the pregame huddle. Again, it's going to be a bumpy ride because it's the first one of the year. And you may not get notifications because you only get 3 a day. So if I go past 3 notifications, then you won't get notified. I'll see you back tonight for the live stream for the game. Eric will be in. We're just going to hang out. I don't know about audio yet. Honestly, I don't really care because it never matches up anyway. So if you need game audio, then I don't know what to tell you. I might be able to figure out a way to get it to you. Let me work on that. All right, y'all. Take care. Go on Pride. We'll see y'all tonight. Lions Bengals preseason, August 13th. Be here. We'll see you guys later. Adios.